Alrighty guys, welcome back to Higurashi When They
どうも、
Cry.
夜分遅くに申し訳ありません。
Sadly, we left off in the middle of a chapter last time, because it was going on real long. And I feel like it might go on even longer, because we got Ooishi calling now. Who knows, maybe it ends in 5 seconds, and I, ended at the worst time possible. Who knows? But we are continuing. Last time, a whole bunch of stuff happened. Man, I don't know. I do kind of worry that last time I feel like, it's almost like for me, the mystery at this point, the greater mystery has almost taken a back seat to just thinking about Keiichi and what I think is going to happen to him. So, sorry if it feels like I haven't been, I don't know, I haven't been speculating about the greater mystery that much. It just feels to me, all of this is coming to a head for Keiichi, and, I think not good things are going to happen to him soon. So, sorry if that's, I don't know, because I was just thinking about it. I feel like there's some stuff I could have speculated on or thought about, I guess, but maybe I covered all of it for the most part. Just all the stuff about Satoshi having transferred and having gone through all the same stuff that Keiichi has at this point, Yeah, maybe I covered everything. Maybe I'm just crazy. I don't know, but I guess Ooishi's calling. We're gonna see. Keiichi's parents are gone. He literally, like Keiichi said, by the time my parents come back, I'll be dead. So, I don't know. I guess we'll see. Alrighty, I got my coffee, so I won't be yawning this time. I always record this early in the morning, because that's just the best time for me, and I don't know. Anyway, Ooishi's calling. Keiichi came home, discovered his parents were gone, all of that, which is not good. But, yeah, I guess let's continue.
私、沖宮書房の大石と申しますが、
大石さんですか。
前原さんですか。こんばんは。お元気そうで何よりです。
He did not say that he's doing well.
ちょっと待ってくださいね。
I grabbed the portable headset and rushed up to my room with it. It was the same no matter where I was, since there was no one else home, but I wanted to be in a spot that just felt a bit safer when speaking on the phone with Ooishi-san.
お待たせしました。
いかがですか、その後お変わりは。
God, dude, and just how suspicious I am of Ooishi. I don't know. I literally just don't know what to think. That's why I feel like is my wild speculation feels like it almost stopped with a lot of stuff, because I just have these conflicting ideas. It's like almost every issue, there's a dilemma between two different possibilities at least, and it's just impossible to know which is real. Like the whole thing with Ooishi, right? There's the thing that Mion said about how Ooishi is, the messenger of Oyashiro-sama. Let me make sure I have enough recording space real quick. I think I have plenty, but... She said that stuff about how Ooishi is the messenger of Oyashiro-sama, and all of that, which, like... no, that stuff about how Ooishi went to go talk to Rika's mom before she disappeared and all of that, before she was Onikakushi'd. But then there's also that tip where Ooishi was talking to the police chief guy, who wasn't the chief, he was the, whoever it was, right? And, Ooishi was, like, taking a hit to his retirement pay just so he can look into this. So, I don't think, if Ooishi is taking part in this and has something to do with why people are being Onikakushi'd, why Oyashiro-sama's curse is happening, I don't think he knows that he's having that effect. It might be true that in some way, whatever Ooishi's doing is having some effect on this weird supernatural stuff that's going on. Which, like, after that insane stuff in the last one, with Keiichi, with the person behind him, the supernatural stuff is very, I don't know. But yeah, after, like, if Ooishi is having some effect on it, I don't think he knows that he's doing it. So, but then Mion calling him the messenger of Oyashiro-sama, like, I have no idea. Unless Ooishi is, like, being possessed by Oyashiro-sama. But I don't think that's it. Since then, when was that exactly? There was something about the brazen way he talked that rubbed me the wrong way. Me too. The last time I spoke to Ooishi-san was 2 days ago. The day I stayed home from school, I met Ooishi-san on the way back from the hospital, and we headed into town for lunch and had a talk. I mean, it's just the same thing I've said a million times about Ooishi, and how he keeps calling Keiichi, he keeps talking to Keiichi and all the time. Even though I don't understand why Ooishi has any idea. I still don't understand why Ooishi thinks Keiichi is gonna go through weird supernatural stuff. I mean, I've said that a million times about how Watanagashi already happened, the curse already happened, the Onikakushi already happened. Why does Ooishi think Keiichi is going to be the target of something? Wouldn't he just be the target of something next year? And he keeps calling right after some weird stuff happens with Keiichi. Then, after that, Rena and Mion came to check up on me. Whenever I spoke to Ooishi-san, they always knew about it. It was like that since the first time I met him. Today's phone call may well be found out by them as well.
もしもし
Unless he's like, I mean, no, but there's the tip. Like, I was gonna say, what if Ooishi is just, like, working with them, and he is literally just giving Mion and Rena information? Which, for one, that kind of, you know, that works against the whole supernatural element. That would mean that they're doing this of their own volition. But that doesn't make sense, just because of that tip. Where they're threatening his retirement money. And he's like, oh, whatever, I gotta do it.
聞こえてますか前原さん。
あ、すみません。なんて言いました？
その後、何か変わったことはありませんかとお尋ねしたんです。
Like, he knows something has. He knows something has happened. That's why he's calling.
焦りましたよ。
特には。
Yeah, not really. The words stopped in my throat. There was a ton of stuff that happened. All of it baffling. What should I talk about? I didn't understand any of it, but I should try asking. If I didn't ask now, I may never have another chance. This night, when my parents went home, I had no guarantees I would make it through the night safely after all.
大石さん、やっぱり俺、命を狙われているみたいです。
Someone... You know, that is an interesting way to phrase it. Like... Someone is after him. The only reason I find that phrasing interesting is because Keiichi, that sounds like a very paranoid thing to say, right? And Keiichi has good reason to be paranoid, right? Because of the crazy stuff that's happened to him. But I'm almost wondering if this weird paranoia stuff, right? Because of his extreme paranoia, thinking everyone's after him, right? Obviously, last time a car almost ran him over. That's another thing. So, like, that's kind of irrefutable evidence that he has good reason to be paranoid. But either way, because of this, he started carrying this bat around and all of that. And, you know, because of his extreme paranoia, he started carrying this bat around. And we have a bad history with bats. And, you know, all of that. I guess I'm just thinking, like, you know, there's that weird... Keiichi was, like, either hallucinating last episode with the whole someone following him into the house, the invisible girl, or whatever, or he really is just being, like, he is the one being, like, possessed by Urashiro-sama, right? Like, imagine it, like, all of this weird paranoia and all of this stuff could be him, could be an effect of this curse. His friends acting crazy could be him hallucinating as a result of this curse, right? It would be a way for there to be a supernatural element, which I think makes sense, and for his friends to be innocent in a way, because it's just been him being crazy, right? But there's still a supernatural element at play. But I feel like that's almost the hardest explanation to grasp. The idea that it's both supernatural and Keiichi is losing his mind. I guess we'll just have to see. And then, like, another reason I'm bringing this up is just because of that first scene at the very beginning of the very beginning, right? With who I think is Keiichi beating some people to death with what I assume is a bat when they, like, played the same sounds again when he was swinging the bat in the schoolyard. I don't know. I'm gonna have to... I have some vague theories and some ideas. I don't really want to say all of them, because I could just be completely off. And I'm sure I will get more evidence to maybe support it, I guess. I think you might understand what I'm going for here, though.
本当ですか？
偶然の可能性もあるんですが、先日俺が病気で休んだ日、夕方にあの二人がお見舞いに来たんです。
And when was that? 2 days ago, I
あ
think?
の二人？
レナとミオンです。そしてそこで大石さんと一緒に昼飯を食ったことを
Yeah,
正されました。
what is Ooishi gonna say? How is he... No,
お見舞
nothing
いっ
about
て
that?
こと
Okay.
でおはぎを置いていったんですが、その中に針が入ってたんです。
Is Ooishi gonna have an explanation for why they knew that they had lunch together?
偶然飲み込まずに済みましたが。
And, like, think about this. If all of this has been Keiichi being like supernaturally possessed and hallucinating. It explains why Rena and Mion know all this stuff, right? Because it's him being crazy, you know? Of course they know these things because he knows these things, and them acting like this is a result of him hallucinating / being possessed by the curse. Or whatever, you know, the curse, I don't know.
その針は
よく見かけるような普通の裁縫針のようでした。糸を通す穴が開いていて。
違いますよ、前原さん。針です。証拠になります。脅迫だと立証できるかもしれません。その針はありますか?
Well, he did not keep the needle, unfortunately. He kind of had a panic attack. That's right, that's it. I dropped the receiver and rushed downstairs. When I tossed the mochi, I had overlooked it out of terror, but that needle was a valuable piece of evidence. Let's see. I threw the mochi and needle at the wall together. If it was there, then it would be on the living room wall. But my prudent mother had cleaned the living room wall, and there was not a trace of mochi left on it. Yeah. Could it be that it had dropped in the gap between the wall and the carpet? That's a very... I mean, it could have just bounced off and went anywhere. I frantically searched by running my palm along the carpet, but nothing turned up. I tried moving around the sofa and desks, pulling up the carpet, then flapping it around, but I couldn't find the needle. Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? Now I feel like it's like making fun of me, right? This is like Keiichi searching for a needle in a haystack almost, you know? It's like, the idea is like he's looking for some tiny, minuscule piece of evidence that, like, how on earth is he gonna find it? Like, it feels like it's making fun of me. Like, that's what I'm looking for in the story, you know? Did my mom clean up everything without noticing it? It was just 2 days ago. I didn't know what day they collected the burnable trash, but it may still be in the trash bin in the kitchen. I rushed into the kitchen, opened up the lid of the pail, and poured out the contents. But, even at a glance, I could tell that it would be incredibly difficult to find the needle in this pile of trash. I was looking for a needle in a trash stack. I know. I'll try running my hand through it. Yeah, okay, literally, alright, literally. Also, he's gonna poke himself, or he's just gonna not find it. It was a bit gross, but I was looking for a needle. If I felt a small prick, I'll be able to find it. It was a pretty tactless method, but it was the quickest. I held my breath and started striking the pile of trash with my hand. Filth flew about. Jesus. I can't say, I don't know. The filth followed by flew? I can't say, I don't know. Something's wrong with me. There was nothing more disgusting than this, but it was not the time to be concerned with such details. Filth flew about. Why? I don't know. I don't know why I can't say that. I continued on for a while, but nothing turned up. I wanted to search more thoroughly, but I was still on the phone. I shouldn't keep Ooishi-san waiting for too long. Later, when Mom got back, I'd have to ask her if there was a needle. I hastily began scribbling on the notepad affixed to the refrigerator with a magnet. Was there a needle? I scrawled the words with a red pen. I then dashed back up the stairs where I had been keeping Ooishi-san waiting for far too long.
もしもし。どうでしたか?
Not well.
見つかりません。
Can't find it. No needle in the haystack.
あの時は
Don't think there's one for me
つい気
either.
が動転していて。
Maybe there is. No, but now I'm feeling like... It feels like... I mean, again, maybe I'm super overanalyzing everything. I don't know, but to me it almost feels like it's the author saying, like, there isn't some tiny, minuscule piece of evidence that you have overlooked, right? It feels like that's what I'm saying. Like, in a story like this, where there's a big, like, mystery, it's like, you know, all this going on. You can imagine that there's some tiny little piece, a needle in the haystack that you missed, right? Some tiny little throwaway line or something, that would, like, completely change your outlook on everything. But I almost feel like that is telling me that there isn't one.
そうですか。見つかればでいいんです。保管しておいてくださいね。
That's right. The needle wasn't the only incident. I had to tell him about this morning with the hit and run. Yeah.
あと大石さん、それだけじゃないんです。実は今朝。
And see, that we know that happened, right? That had to have happened, you know? So this whole Keiichi is hallucinating being possessed thing, I mean, he was almost hit by a car. A car tried to hit him. Well, I mean, like, how do you explain that with this idea, you know? That van was definitely aiming for me. I could say that without question due to the circumstances at the time.
その車のナンバープレートは見ましたか?
I don't think so.
こちらでも探してみます。
Damn. At the time, I just flipped out yelling at him, but I didn't look at the plate. What failures on my part with the needle and the plate number? I was so focused just protecting myself that I let some of the most important details slip out of my grasp. It feels so meta, I don't know. I punched my pillow, annoyed at how worthless I was.
すみません。白いワゴン車ってこと以外はわかりません。
I guess in a way, we're also on Keiichi's side here, right? Like, obviously, that's kind of how mystery stories work in general. The main character, the narrator, is gonna have, like, the same information you do, you know? But I was gonna say, like, it's like we're in Keiichi's place, where we both have no idea. We don't know what's going on at all, obviously, right? And he feels like he missed details. Man.
仕方ないことですよ、前原さん。惹かれかければ気も動転します。
やっぱりこれだって偶然じゃないですよね。
I don't think you can call it that. Ooishi-san started to hem and haw over on the other end. I could imagine him folding his
あと
arms.
レナの様子もやっぱり怪しいです。
それはどんな感じですか？
What Rena said on the way home today, asking why I was so much like Satoshi-kun. Now I could say it with confidence, that Rena knew what happened to Satoshi. Well, he transferred. She knew that there was more to it than him just simply disappearing.
レナは知っています。去年の鬼隠しにあったサトシのことを何か知っています。
Sorry, I'm just thinking about what Ooishi knows. What Ooishi knows, and, like... Hmm.
それは具体的にどういうことですか？
レナが言うには、俺はサトシとそっくりらしいんです。このまま行くと、俺もサトシと同じ運命をたどると、そんな感じのことを言うんです。
And Satoshi... Because it's weird, right? Because Satoshi disappeared on Watanagashi, right? Or right after, right? It was when his... Was it his mother? I don't remember. I don't remember the relations exactly. I think it was Satoshi's mother, right? It was, Yeah, it was Satoshi... Wait, am I crazy? No, that happened... Satoshi was last year. Satoshi was the one that happened literally last year, right? That was the one with the wife of the whatever of the damn supporter. The wife of the brother of the damn supporter from the first year, right? The first year it was Satoko's parents. Then it was Rika's parents. Which is crazy. And then it was this, right? It was the wife, the brother, the damn supporter. And that was also a Hojo family member, right? Because she married into the family, right? I'm not misremembering this, right? I feel like Man. I hope I have that right. So what, Satoshi's aunt, then? And Satoko's aunt? I just realized it's Satoshi and Satoko. And Satoko. Satoshi and Satoko. That's, you know, I didn't think about that. Anyway, he disappeared when she was murdered. I'm just... What do we know about... What do we think is coming for Keiichi, right? We saw that first scene. We saw that very first scene at the very beginning with Keiichi, or someone, I'm pretty sure it's Keiichi, beating people to death with a bat. Keiichi is apparently the same as Satoshi. He's gonna meet the same fate as him. If part of Keiichi's fate is beating people to death with a bat, Satoshi's aunt was beaten to death by allegedly some random drug addict. I think I'm just going back to that thing I said forever ago about what if the person who's Onikakushi is the one who does it, is the one who kills the person every time, you know? Obviously, that's just weird, though. That's just weird, though, because a lot of them just don't fit. I guess it's just potentially Keiichi and Satoshi that would fit for. I don't know. We've really made, like, no progress. I've just been talking this whole time. But, like... With the same fate as Satoshi, right? And I think we know part of what Keiichi's fate is going to be. They've really, he has the bat. They played the same bat sound effects that were in that first scene with Keiichi. So I think Keiichi is going to beat someone to death with a bat. with that bat. And if he's going to be the same as Satoshi, if Satoshi did the same thing, let's say it was Satoshi who killed his aunt, and then Satoshi was Onikakushi. Satoshi transferred, right? So does this mean Keiichi is going to end up beating someone to death with a bat? Let's say it's Rena, let's say it's Mion, let's say it's someone, right? I assume it's going to be someone like that. Let's say that fits along with his whole potential supernatural explanation of him hallucinating all this crazy stuff, right? This curse is driving him crazy, is making him think his friends are trying to kill him, so he's going to beat them to death with a bat, right? Let's say the same thing happened to Satoshi, right? He got paranoid, he starts carrying this bat around, we know that much happened. He thinks, I don't know, let's say in his case he thought his aunt was trying to kill him, so he beats his aunt to death with a bat, maybe. Although I guess if he used the bat to beat her to death, it would probably be like, it wouldn't just be at school, they'd probably have it at the police department. Although no, I say that, but they don't think it was Satoshi, they think it was a random drug addict. But let's say if the same thing happened to Satoshi, he was Onikakushi, he transferred. I guess that same thing is going to happen to Keiichi, right? But then, this isn't happening on Watanagashi. Why? It always happens on Watanagashi, the curse and the Onikakushi. Why is this happening to Keiichi now? Watanagashi was a week ago. What's going on now?
運命ですか。具体的にどんな運命をたどるか言及しましたか。
転校と。
転校生。
転校？
レナは、サトシは転校したって言ってるんです。で、俺もこのままだと転校しちゃうぞって。
Ooishi-san let out a stern sigh and then grumbled loudly.
前原さん、それはおそらく何かの脅迫、もしくは警告です。
Well, I guess. I don't know. Or is it just her saying that she knows that's what's gonna happen to him?
俺もそう思ってます。
At that point, I started to think. Would it be prudent to sum up everything that had happened up until now as the machinations of some human perpetrator? Other than the theory of it being Rena and the others, I was left with Oishiro-sama's curse actually existing as the only explanation, or that he's going crazy. Of course, I couldn't tell that to Ooishi-san. Except, Rena's strange behavior could be proof of either scenarios. Is he gonna tell Ooishi about the weird, insane thing with the person behind him? Whether it was Oishiro-sama's curse being real or everything being part of a conspiracy committed by all of the villagers, Rena was involved. Rena had to know something. Rena was suspicious. What exactly was Rena? I couldn't help but think she was somehow involved with the prior string of mysterious deaths. I seemed to recall that Ooishi-san had admitted that he had dug into Rena's past a little. He was probably just downplaying it when he said a little, meaning he had actually dug pretty deep, most likely. I wanted to hear about Rena. I wanted to know what happened at her previous school, among other things that were still unknown to me. If Rena was somebody I should suspect, no, not that. It's weird. Isn't it weird that he's looked into Rena so much when... I feel like we've treaded this ground before, but it's just weird because Rena hasn't had any direct connection to anything. I guess other than, unlike the other members of the club, she hasn't had any direct connection to it, their family members have been victims for the most part. And Mion as well, really, other than Mion being involved in some way in the protests and everything with the dam. But she was like 12. How could she have done anything? Anyway, I don't know. It is weird that he's looked into Rena, isn't it? Because all that's happened with her... Because the only reason he knows about all the stuff that happened at her school, right, is because of... is because he looked into her. He didn't know any of that beforehand. I guess, unless it's just the fact that she's a member of this group that he's suspicious of. If Rena was somebody I should suspect, no, not that. I wanted to know the truth. Tonight, I was alone in this huge house. Even though I said I couldn't count on them, I had lost the security I felt I had just by my parents being around. It wasn't like this house was some sort of fortress or castle. If a malicious person decided to use brute force, they'd easily gain entry. There were no other residences close to the Maibara residence. No one would be able to hear anything, no matter how loud it was. I had never felt as much resentment towards my father's artistic temperament and the fact that he had this house built in such a remote location as I did right now. Oh. I wondered if I would still be here by tomorrow morning. Doorbell. That's awesome. So I had to ask, right now, because I had no idea when the next chance would come.
Ooishi-san, 聞きたいことがあるんです。隠さないでくださいね。
Doorbell? Doorbell. Even though he was so far away on the other end of the line, this was the most reliable he had ever felt. Really, I don't like that. He does not feel reliable to me at all. I wanted to ask about Rena, about what happened at her previous school.
実はレナの
I noticed the sound that had been going on for a while now. Since I was so focused on the call, I hadn't paid attention to it at first, but I finally realized it was the doorbell. The time was 7 o'clock. It was past the time the postman would be making a delivery, and past any sensible time for a neighbor to be visiting. I considered just acting like nobody was home, but that wouldn't be good. That would ruin all the work I put into making it look like my parents were home. I need to answer the door. Ugh. Well, whoever it is, it's not going to be any good.
すみません。誰か来たみたいですので、
I mean, who's
ちょ
it
っ
going to
と
be?
玄関に行ってきます。
Rena, Mion, I feel like it's going to be Rena, right? She lives close to Keiichi. Who else would it be?
お客さんですか。すみません、すみません。今夜のお電話はこれくらいにしましょうか。
Please don't, actually. That would be a
あ、
problem.
いえ、
Yeah.
すぐ戻りますから。電話はこのままでいいですか。
Keiichi can scream if he starts getting murdered, I guess.
はいはい、構いません
Or
よ。
if he starts murdering someone with a bat, maybe Ooishi can hear. I dropped the handset on my bed and dashed down to the door. I needed to make up a good excuse to get them to leave. I had a hunch it was the lady who called right before Ooishi-san did. I doubt it. In which case, it would be one of the neighbors who's friends with my mom. I'll just say Mion's mom wasn't feeling well and went to bed early. That would be the easiest option. It'd be hard for her to ask me to wake my mom up if she's not feeling well. The bell continued to ring at regular intervals. Keep the chain in the door, please. If someone didn't answer after you rang the bell so much, you'd normally give up and go home, wouldn't you? Without removing the chain, thank you, I opened the door slightly and peered out at the visitor. A chill ran down my spine. I knew it. Somewhere deep inside, I had prepared for this moment. I tried to escape by imagining it was the easiest person to deal with, one of my mom's friends.
こんばんは。
Hi, Rena. Hi, sweetie.
レナ。
There shouldn't be any reason for Rena to come over at this hour. The timing also made me feel uneasy, because it was just as I was about to ask Ooishi-san about Rena. I wish I could have chalked this up to mere coincidence, but those unsettling words from Mion several days ago echoed back to me.
さーてね。おじさんにわからないことはないからね。
Mm-hmm.
レナ一人。
うん。
It seems that Mion wasn't with her, but that didn't change the situation at all.
何しに来たんだよ。
ねえ、ケイチくん。ちゃんとドアを開けてお話ししたいな。
Talk about what?
レナは玄関に入っちゃ
No.
ダメなのかなかな。
See, we're so untrusting of Rena now. Like, I don't want to abstract myself from the character situations, right? But it's obviously like, we are so suspicious of Rena now, just like Keiichi is. Despite that, it still hurts to be this suspicious of her, considering the entire first half of the game. And us being suspicious of her has led to nothing but trouble, It was true that speaking through a chained door wasn't the right way to talk to a classmate, but...
うち、夜は必ずチェーンかけてるんだよ。気にすんなよ。
なら、仕方ないかな。
Can't be helped. Rena looked at the ground sadly. But she kept smiling at least, and her effort to keep that smile up was quite pitiful. Even though she was tugging at my heartstrings, I didn't lower my guard. As long as I stayed like this, even if it made my heart ache, my life wasn't in danger. What I really feared, more than the possibility that hoodlums would assault me if I removed the chain, was trusting Rena enough to remove the chain, and having my friendship betrayed. Yeah. What I was about to say is removing the chain yourself, right? It's too far gone. This feels like a last chance or something almost, you know. It feels like it's too far gone now, you know. He can never he's made his decision about what stance he thinks he has to have on their friendship. And I think it's clear what, you know, again, I've said it a million times, but the deterioration of his friendship with Rena and everyone else, mostly Rena, has coincided with the deterioration of his sanity and of his normal life, you know? As long as the chain wasn't unlatched, even if it made my heart ache, I wouldn't have to deal with being betrayed by Rena. Just a sad way to look at relationships in general, right? Obviously, he has a good reason to be suspicious of Rena in this situation, but, like, as a broader, you know. Since it didn't seem like I'd removed the chain from her silent urging, she appeared to give up on trying to get into the entranceway.
あのさ、ケイチ君、ご飯食べた？
No, I haven't eaten. Since my mom wasn't there, dinner wouldn't be ready no matter how long I waited. I laid down when I got home, was woken up by the phone, and didn't have a chance to eat since I used up all that time talking. I was going to have cup noodles in any case. I could just eat one whenever I wanted to.
いや、まだだよ。それがどうしたよ。
じゃあよかった。これ見て。お惣菜とか持ってきてあげたの。
Oh. Rena held out a stack of boxes wrapped in a cloth.
お台所とか貸してくれれば、お味噌汁も温めてあげられるよ。
Wonder what would happen if he let her in and just went along with this. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think there's any chance of that. But really, what would happen? I don't think she would just, like, kill him. Right? I mean, I don't know. I don't just want to rehash the same thing I've said a million times. But, like, he hasn't tried. It's just because Keiichi's situation, I can't, like, fault him for it.
いいよ、そこまでしてくれなくても。
でも、お豆腐もお野菜もたっぷりなの。ケイチ君、そういうの嫌いかな
There's no way I wouldn't like that. I love miso soup with lots of ingredients. White radish, carrots, burdock root, and potatoes. Dense and fibrous root vegetables. Yeah, that miso soup looks incredible.
ご飯も持ってきてあげたから、レンジで温めればすぐ食べられるし。
Without a doubt, rice needs miso soup. Stuffing rice down your gullet, sipping miso soup in between ravenous bites. He's doing it again, just like with the mochi. Oh yes, how wonderful it is to be born Japanese. I guess it's not completely far gone yet. I mean, not completely, you know, the tiny amount of goodwill he still feels towards Rena and their relationship isn't completely gone, but...
それからね、またお漬物を作ってきたんだよ。今度は山菜のお漬物なの。
Before I had moved here to Hinamizawa, I scoffed at the mountain vegetables called sansai. But I was captivated by their charm the first time I tried them. Such a deep yet light flavor. Those so-called supermarket vegetables taste rough and overpowering in comparison. If you had to describe them, then they were the vegetables for the uninitiated. To become an expert such as myself, you first had to partake of sansai. It was common knowledge around here that the Ryugu family's traditional pickles were wonderfully delicious. Ah, no matter what kind of pickles they were. They'd go so well with that fluffy white rice.
それからね。
The temptation. But wait, there's more. So delicious. It just seems so delicious. Farewell to my unhealthy self, who said he'd make do with cup noodles. Rena appeared to be in good spirits, and she was offering such a delicious-sounding dinner. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its voracious head. Like, if I really just want to go crazy and just continue to analyze this from, like, an outside perspective, not in terms of the actual events of the story, right? It's like, Keiichi is scared of what impact this relationship with Rena, like, I'm not saying like a romantic relationship, just a relationship as like friends, right? A friendship with her, having a connection with her, and a connection with everyone in the club in general. what he's afraid of the impact that is going to have on him, right? Like, obviously, that's a very broad way of stating it, because he thinks they're gonna kill him, right? That's a very extreme version of it, He's afraid of the impact that these people are gonna have on him in a relationship, And it's like this is being represented as the temptation, He's gonna deny all of this, just like he did with the mochi and everything, I guess with the mochi, he was kind of the mochi, the needle kind of woke him up out of a very simpler mindset he was having to this, I think in this case he's going to snap himself out of it, just like at school a few times when he's calling himself weak and then he has to stop thinking like that, all of that, So in a way, it's like temptation for him to continue a relationship, a connection with people that he obviously enjoys, but he's so worried it's gonna hurt him in some way. Like, obviously, again, in the story, it's gonna hurt him because he thinks they're gonna kill him. And I'm not saying he doesn't have good reason to believe that. I don't know. I just think it's interesting in terms of that, right? If we look at it of like I don't know. It's interesting, I suppose. Very similar to a certain character in an anime we're watching right now in Monogatari, right? And again, I always feel like when I pick up on connections like this from other things, I might be like supplanting ideas from different media that I'm consuming at the same time into this, but I don't think I am. I think this is just as much present here. In this, it's much more metaphorical and it's not stated nearly as clearly as it is in Monogatari, right? But I think it's present here all the same. Because I just remember earlier on in the story, it's like Keiichi has been almost separating himself into two different halves. Sorry, I might talk for a little bit about this because I think it's very interesting. Keiichi's almost been separating himself into two sides of himself, right? There's the weak version of himself that he says like can still feel pain and that he hasn't hardened his heart enough for, cutting up this connection with all of these people that he obviously enjoys. And there's there's that side of him, which I remember very early on in the story. This line stood out to me when he was explaining his relationship with them. I think it was literally in the first chapter. He was explaining his relationship with them and how his behavior when he lived in the city, he didn't act like this open with people and all of this, but with them, he does. It's like he has changed his personality to fit in with them somewhat, And in a way, you can connect that to kind of what's going on here. It's way more extreme because he thinks he's gonna die, right? And again, this is so similar to Araragi from Monogatari, so sorry if I'm really just supplanting this idea onto this story from that, but like, he's acknowledged being changed by these people, and his personality changing to fit in with this group in a way, right? Which I think is natural. Everyone does that. And also, he has separated himself into two halves almost, There's the weak, pathetic side of himself that can still feel pain, that has a connection with these people, right? That's the side of him that whenever he's, at school, thinking about joining in the club activities and all of that, that he gets mad at himself and hits himself in the face for thinking like that, right? There's that half of him. And there's this half of him that he thinks is like self-preservation, right? It literally is taking place of self-preservation because the risk of him continuing this relationship with Rena and Mion and everyone is literal death. He thinks they're going to kill him. So it's like, if we look at it in that sense, that it's like relationships with these people will change him as a person, that's been acknowledged quite explicitly. And it's like, literally, there are two halves of him. And he literally said, like, he wants the side of him to die to be the weak side that can still feel pain. It's like he feels like his real self will be killed through these relationships with them, metaphorically and literally. Yeah, it's Araragi from Monogatari. Sorry, I don't know. There's that. All right, all that aside, I don't know. I just wanted to talk about that because I just think it's interesting. I don't know. And I could have made all that up. Maybe that's all wrong. I hope not, though. I think there's supporting evidence in the story to go along with that. The stress evaporated from my gut, and hunger reared its voracious head. At the same time, my wariness of Rena suddenly dwindled. Rena did say she was alone. It shouldn't be a problem letting her inside. Though, the possibility that it was laced with poison still hadn't been ruled out. At that moment, a cold chill ran down my spine again. Yeah, it's over. Sorry, had a small interruption there. I couldn't understand why such a sensation had occurred just then. Oops. But the voice inside me, it was sounding the alarm. This happy Rena speaking of this charming dinner was dependent on one premise, and that premise was that tonight, dinner hadn't been made at my house. True, meaning it was under the assumption that my mom, who should be making it, wasn't here. I didn't even think about that, about how, like, she's bringing the dinner here because she obviously knows your mom isn't home, and that your parents aren't home. She knows you're alone. At any normal household, 7 o'clock would be around the middle of dinner time. If my mom were here, we'd be eating dinner around this time as well. The fact that she brought over all the makings of a meal at this time was inherently strange. Unless she knew. Rena. Did she know that my parents weren't home? I think she does, yes. But there was also the chance that this was a bluff. I had turned on the lights and a bunch of other stuff to make it seem like my parents were here. There was a chance that Rena was unsure if my parents were home. But I had to wonder. The laundry, the garage, the evening paper. There were plenty of signs of them being hastily tidied up. It was hard to say that Rena didn't have a chance to determine if my parents were here or not. But there was no reason for me to confess that right now. I should try holding on to that fact as long as I could. First of all, the chain was still latched. As long as I didn't take it off, Rena wouldn't be able to do anything to me.
ありがたいんだけどさ、もう少しで夕飯ができるみたいなんだよ。
Yeah, she's gonna be like, what are you talking about? Your parents aren't home.
そうなの？そうなの？
せっかくで申し訳ないんだけどさ、その。
Unable to think of a good way to refuse, my words trailed off weakly.
でも、ちょっとはおかずになると思うな。思うな。
悪いけど、間に合ってるよ。うちのお袋ってさ、結構おかずをいっぱい作るんだよ。だから。
おかずあるの？
With a smile that bordered on cringe, I dodged her questions apologetically. But the feeling I tried to ignore began creeping up my back again. I spoke as if my mom was setting down dinner right now, but it didn't mesh well with what Rena was saying. Rena was talking as if she was aware of some obvious fact, and that I was aware of it as well.
ケイチ君もおかずとか作れるんだね。
Odd.
何を作ったのかな？
いや、その、別に俺が。
Rena had assumed out of nowhere that I had made the dishes. No, not so much that I'd made them, but rather that my mom hadn't.
本当に作ったの？おかず。ケイチ君が？
だから、俺が作ったんじゃないよ。お袋が作った。いや、作ってるんだよ。
Yeah,
今。だからさ。
This is so awkward because she just knows, right? So like, Rena fell silent at that moment. At that moment, I felt that the light had suddenly disappeared from her eyes.
ケイチ君のお夕飯当ててみようか？
Alright.
なんだっていいじゃないか。
ね。
The conversation might appear natural at first glance, but Rena was firmly in control. It felt like I was being interrogated.
そのお夕飯、お湯だけで作れるんじゃないかな。
Yeah, it sure is.
おいおい、侮るなよ。うちのお袋のスペシャルなディナーを見くびるなってんだ。
Yeah.
そりゃもう満館全席状態ですごいのなんの。
I tried my best to put on a strong front, but I couldn't grip my teeth quite right. And so instead, I looked like someone who was borderline hysterical, which I think you are. But Rena showed no reaction whatsoever, even to that
ケイ
silliness.
チ君、本当にお母さん、ご飯作ってってくれたの？
Leave you dinner.
いや、だから、くれたんじゃなくて、今作ってるんだよ。もうすぐ晩飯に。
Rena had taken that assertion of mine, that my mother was home and making dinner right now, and was completely ignoring it. I could tell that the more I panicked, the colder Rena became.
ねえ、ケイチ君。
At that moment, an uncomfortable chill crept in from the gap in the doorway.
お母さん、お家にいるのかな？かな。
I couldn't keep up this charade anymore. Rena, She knew full well that my parents weren't home. But I'd come too far to admit that now. Anyway, my parents were here and would be having dinner soon. That was the situation I had concocted. So I answered. I told her she was here.
いるよ。もちろん。
I could feel the humidity drying out from the surrounding air. Rena's eyes were becoming even more frigid, piercing me with their gelid glare.
どうして
Okay, great. Fantastic. I guess he is lying again.
何のことかな
I tried acting casual, but that facade was torn off me the instant I looked into Rena's eyes. That look, it informed me of Rena's response faster than she could open her mouth. And like, yet again, you know, this reaction from Rena and all of this has been spurred by Keiichi rejecting their friendship, you know?
どうして
Oh, great. Oops, I skipped that.
嘘だよね
嘘なんかじゃ。
嘘だよ
Uh-huh. Rena's outburst sent a jolt surging through my body. Rena and I were still separated by what few inches that slightly ajar but still chained door could afford. But despite that, I was still being cornered. My house, which I'd considered a safe haven until now, had become more like a dark alleyway where no one could
圭
see.
一君のお夕飯当てるよね
I knew now that Rena had already known that my parents would not be here tonight. But it was still so strange that it had come to this. Why can't I read? Like, what's wrong with me? No one knows. Even if she somehow knew that my parents weren't home, there was no way she'd be able to guess what I'd be eating tonight. But Rena said she'd guess. How could she guess it? How could she know what I was... Oh, okay.
当たりでしょ
Know that it was instant? Cup noodles, yeah. Like... Is he just losing his mind? Is he just hallucinating, right? And that's why these people know things? Maybe, but why would Rena show up here? Because Rena must have known that his mother wasn't home anyway. She could have known, just based off, you know, all that stuff he was saying about the newspaper being out and the garage shed being unopened, all that stuff, right? She could have noticed and have known that already. And then her knowing the cup noodles thing could be he's hallucinating now. She's acting crazy. Now this is him hallucinating / being supernaturally possessed. I guess. I don't know. Wait, the cooking repertoire of a man who can't do housework is probably nothing but cup noodles after all. Looking at this statistically, it was the most probable answer. That didn't mean she was guessing.
ラーメンだけじゃきっとお腹すくと思うなご飯とかも一緒の方がきっと腹持ちいいと思うよ
I don't think you should let her in now, so... Calm down, Keiichi Maibara. This was just coincidence. Rena was just reading certain tells of mine. So the fact that she was inferring what I was thinking alarmed me. But it wasn't as if she was actually reading my mind. If it was being read, then she was a demon. No, not a demon. Things like that, they couldn't possibly
好
exist.
きなの
ラーメンがかよ。
豚骨生姜味
What? Rena indicated that the point my answer was addressing was wrong. Her rebuttal was so short that I momentarily didn't understand the words Rena had spoken.
ごめん、レナ。今、なんて
Please.
何が
今さ、何が好きって聞いたんだよ。
It wasn't long before I regretted how carelessly I'd pushed forward with that question. It was such a simple answer. That was why I wasn't able to comprehend it.
豚骨生姜
Oh
味
god, they mentioned that. They mentioned that. The pork bone and ginger flavored ramen, he got like a giant pack of them. Why does she know that? Again, this feels like to me it has to be Keiichi like hallucinating, right? That feels like the most reasonable explanation for me for why these people know these crazy things. I wondered how I appeared in the moments my mind went completely blank until the moment I was able to recover. As my field of view began to distort, slowly swirling in a counterclockwise direction, I lost all sense of balance.
なんでそこまでわかるんだよ
Yeah, I didn't even deny it. That was the type of frenzied state I was in. He wants to know why she knows, yeah, you've skipped the line. How could Rena know even this? Not even caring as I mashed my head against the door, I fixated my gaze on Rena. But she didn't even flinch when she saw me do that.
確かに勝った。 まとめて買った。俺が箱買いした。それがどうしてわかるんだ。
なんでかな。
Huh.
不思議だね。
It sure is quite strange.
だね。
How could you dodge the question at a time like this? The chain and the door suddenly were no longer protecting you.
どうしてわかる。なぜ知ってる。答えろ。
買ったのはセブンスマートだよね。
A shiver ran up my spine. I tried covering it up with an angry facade.
だからなんでわかるんだよ。
So, okay. The idea about Ooishi being the one telling them information. No way, right? That doesn't make sense. How would Ooishi wouldn't have known that? They know this, so that can't be an explanation.
ケイチ君の後ろ
Okay.
ずっとくっついてたから。
Oh no, dude. Am I crazy? Let me listen to that line again. Wait.
何を言ってんだよ。
ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついてたから。ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついてたから。
I don't know. I feel like I'm hearing something that almost sounds like Urishiro, so I'm just wondering. You know what? We're taking a break with Google Translate for a second, because Oyashiro. Because I know Shiro just means white. I'm just wondering if hear it one more time.
ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついてたから。
Keiichi-kun no something.
ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついてたから。
Maybe I'm just crazy. I'm just wondering if oh no, it is okay. Ushiro means behind you, following you. Okay. I just typed it based off the way she was pronouncing it. I guess I got it right. So, Ushiro means behind you. You know. Because obviously, okay, the reason I'm talking about all this is because, like, Oyashiro-sama, right, okay. I'm trying to think, I'm speechless. So, there's that weird scene last time with the thing appearing behind Keiichi, all that crazy stuff, right? Obviously, Rena saying this makes you think of that immediately, right? It makes you think, like, okay, whatever that weird thing was following Keiichi, which you immediately think has something to do with Urishiro-sama, because it's weird supernatural stuff. That's the only established weird supernatural stuff that might exist, you know? And this line makes you feel like, okay, so right now it feels like Rena is almost being possessed by Oyashiro-sama in some way. And she is saying this because she is the thing that was following him last time, pretty much, you know? It's like speaking through her, almost. I just think it's very interesting. Like,
後ろ
ケイチ君の後ろずっとくっついて
I
た
think
か
I got
ら。
that right. Ushiro means behind you. I don't know. I'm very curious because obviously that's kind of an obvious connection that you would get. Well, no, I guess not because Oyashiro and Ushiro doesn't. I mean, other than the Shiro, which just means white. That's not really, you know, kind of a vague connection. You know, that's a connection that I feel like I'm seeing just because I don't know very much Japanese. But I don't know. I think that just makes me think even more. You know what? Let's move on. I will have thoughts about it, I think. I couldn't understand why she was saying she'd been following me all this time.
だからレナがケイチ君の後ろに
Ushiro ni.
ずっとくっついてたの。
So if we're pretending this is Oyashiro-sama saying this, right? Again, I'm going full, like, Rena is being possessed right now mode. Whether or not that's really what I think. I feel like this almost makes me feel like this is supportive of the idea that Keiichi is the one being affected supernaturally, right? Oyashiro-sama has been behind Keiichi the whole time, you know? Like, behind his actions, maybe? Behind everything that we've seen, you know? Oyashiro-sama has been affecting Keiichi throughout all of this. Like that night. That night I was absorbed in my phone conversation with Ooishi-san. I didn't even sense her being there. standing behind the door, behind me, standing there, just like that. Yeah, and I guess that's an explanation for why Rena knows these things. If this Rena is being possessed in some way by Uyashiro-sama, then and Uyashiro-sama has been behind Keiichi the whole time, in some form of whatever, being followed by Uyashiro-sama, whatever that means, right? Being possessed? I don't know. Because I don't think Keiichi has been, possessed. He's just being affected by Uyashiro-sama in some way. It would make sense why Rena would know these things, if right now this is, Uyashiro-sama talking to Keiichi, basically.
ケイチ君がいろんなラーメン選んでるとこ、後ろからずっと見てたの。いろんな種類を選んでたんだよね。それでお母さんに怒られたの。高いラーメンばっかり選ぶから一種類にしなさいって。それでケイチ君大好きな大きいカップの豚骨生姜味を選んだんだよね。レナも好きだよ、豚骨ラーメン。でも大きいカップは全部食べきれないけどね。
My brain was paralyzed, dulling my senses. It might have been a defense mechanism to diminish the fear I was feeling to non-traumatizing levels. With the fear being diminished, the fog enveloping my mind was cleared away. Then, I could understand what Rena was saying and started to put meaning behind her words. Even so, my fear hadn't subsided completely. It was like I was standing at the edge of a cliff, eyes closed so I didn't have to look down. It didn't actually solve any of the basic problems. I slowly took a step backwards. And as I withdrew, Rena advanced. Advanced where? She's at the door.
ここを開けて。レナと一緒にご飯食べよう。きっと美味しいから。ね。
Oh, fantastic. Awesome. Great. Rena's pale, slender fingers squirmed through the crack in the door one at a time, as if they had a mind of their own, rattling the chain. If she had unlatched the chain from the door, a feeling of terror would have just exploded within me. But Rena didn't do that. She was simply imploring me to remove the chain. I tried my hardest to light the fuse to the powder keg in my heart, trying again and again. Clatter, clatter. But it doesn't light. It doesn't light.
開けて、ケイチ君。
帰ってくれ。頼むから。帰ってくれ。
どうしてそんな意地悪を言うのかな。
Yeah.
かな。
Well.
帰ってくれ。帰れよ。帰れ。
The powder keg inside me finally went off. No smoldering. It just exploded. I tackled the door. The force through the door had knocked Rena momentarily off balance. I couldn't hesitate here. I grabbed onto the doorknob with both hands, planted my feet firmly, and pulled with all my might. But that slamming sound I so desired didn't happen. I could feel a tiny, disturbing bit of resistance keeping the door from closing. Oh god. And the source of that was Rena's fingers. Each of those fingers wriggling, squirming around like the tendrils of a carnivorous plant through the crack in the doorway. It wasn't a harsh shriek, but more of a yelp she was trying to keep back. I kept on pulling on the door with all my might. I didn't even realize that if I didn't loosen my pull on the door at least momentarily, Rena wouldn't be able to pull her fingers out, and that was why the door wasn't closing. Messing around? What do you mean messing around? That was messing around? What? I didn't care one bit for her apology. No matter how much she apologized, it didn't change any of what she had done up until now. It didn't change anything. Yeah, I thought, I wrote down apology at the very start. So at the very top of my notes, pretty much, because this is very interesting. We haven't really had a throwback to this. There's that first scene at the very beginning where Keiichi was on the train, and he said he was listening to someone apologizing for something over and over again. And he said, something like, no matter what someone does, you should always accept their apology, or something like that. It was a stance that I don't really know if I agree with, particularly. It was something like that. It was like, no matter what, you should accept someone's apology. And he thought even something like, if it's something that can't be fixed, that's even more reason to accept their apology. Stuff like that. He was thinking like there's no irreparable mistake. Something like that, right? So very specifically, this apology stuff. And I don't think it's come back up until now. Very different stance now, huh? It's like he's found something that, he doesn't think someone can just apologize for. Rena couldn't leave even if she wanted to, because I'd trapped her fingers. Jesus. Rena's white fingers had become deep red and were no longer even squirming. Oh. Rena's apologies were occasionally twisted with pain, but like a broken record, she was intent on repeating it over and over. Go away, go away, go away. Stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it, stop it. I pulled on the door even harder. Finally, Rena's fingers were somehow able to slip out from their imprisonment in the doorway. The moment that happened, the door closed soundly, and I could hear the thud of Rena falling on her butt on the other side. I locked the door immediately. It made a loud clunk, voicing my rejection, and I was about to say, it feels like that door shutting is like the final straw of their relationship, right? It's like Keiichi it's been cut off now. The door is done. It's there, and it spells it out, voicing his rejection. I think it's over now. I don't think we're gonna have any more of this, of Rena trying to patch things up almost, and Keiichi rejecting it. Man, this apology stuff, it's back. Rena leaned against the door, apologizing profusely and nothing else. After confirming that I was sufficiently sealed off from her, I trudged away from the entryway. On the other side, I could still hear Rena echoing her apology. I'm sorry, I'm sorry. Those pitiful words, they would be forever seeking my forgiveness. I didn't feel bad about this at all, but that wasn't out of any sort of malice. I just felt a sort of hazy sense of relief that I was able to escape from Rena. Before Mion had threatened me at this doorway, saying there was nothing she didn't know. And just now, at the same place, Rena told me the same thing. My feeble attempts to disguise the fact that my parents weren't home had served no purpose from the start. I should have just pretended to be out and not even opened the door. Yeah, not even... My meager plans hadn't helped at all. In Hinamizawa, it was impossible to outwit them. Even though I was on the other side of the door, I wanted to get as far away from Rena as possible. 1 step, 2 steps. With each one, her sniveling apologies became more distant. I sprinted up the stairs and dove into my room. As you would expect, I was finally no longer able to hear Rena repeating her endless apology. Diving into my bed, I was startled by the hard lump I felt. There was something in my bed? Right, it was the receiver. I finally remembered. Did Ooishi hear Keiichi screaming like a maniac as all of that was happening? I was in the middle of a call with Ooishi-san. Looking at the clock, apparently not much time had passed since I went downstairs. Could it be that my clock had run out of batteries? I had talked with Rena for so long. How did almost no time pass? Okay, now it's just making me think more that Keiichi is crazy and he's hallucinating. But the hand on the clock was ticking forward 1 second every second as usual. As I put the still warm receiver to my ear, time, which felt frozen, began moving once again.
もしもし、大石さん、お待たせしてすみませんでした。
いえいえ、大してお待ちしていませんよ。
Okay. It became apparent that the amount of time that had passed between myself and Ooishi-san was different. Over the phone, I could hear an energetic voice from a sports program or something. It drove home just how far away Ooishi-san really was.
今、レナが来ました。
遊びに来たんですか?
Come to play, yeah. I wasn't confident that I could coherently explain the situation to Ooishi-san. Please try to. But I didn't need to right now. Oops. Right now, I needed to know about Rena. That's right. I was planning to ask Ooishi-san more about Rena, but Rena's little visit had interrupted the conversation. What was true and what was false, I couldn't tell. The one thing I knew was the single grim reality that Rena was suspicious. I might be able to figure something out if I asked Ooishi-san about her. Up until now, I had regretted it whenever I forced myself to ask about things that I was better off not knowing. Which is interesting. I feel like I don't really know how that connects to the other, like, themes I feel like I'm picking up on here. Because this has been mentioned a few times, the idea of not knowing, being better off not knowing things. I don't know. Sorry if I mean, like, I always feel like my reaction to these scenes of terrible things happening was, like, I don't know, underwhelming, but I guess I just don't know what to say. Like, But, looking at it that way, you could say I'd hit rock bottom. There was no possible way I could feel any more regret than I did right now. No. Rather, I wanted to know if there was anything beyond this I would regret more. Forget about tomorrow. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility for something to happen tonight. I wanted to know everything I could. I was absolutely not going to die like this. Every time he says that, you know, it's another stacking the chance of Keiichi dying like this. Not without knowing anything. I definitely won't.
竜宮レナさんのことですか？調べましたよ。まあ簡単には。
I'm sure. I understood that Ooishi-san was talking in circles. A bit meant I dug so deep it'd be hard to discuss with you since you're her friend.
その簡単な全てを知りたいんです。
あなたが聞いて面白いような話はありませんよ。
大石さん。
I spoke as calmly as possible to Ooishi-san, who was continuing to avoid the issue. And then I said it.
竜宮レナは怪しいと思っています。過去の事件が、たとえお社様のたたりによるものだったにせよ、竜宮レナは関わっています。
Yeah, he's complete. It's done now. no more fooling himself, right?
レナさんが怪しいと思える具体的な証拠があるのですか？
The manner in which Ooishi-san spoke became very firm. You have some sort of proof? That was him talking as a detective.
状況証拠だけです。
Yeah, he just has his own experiences, right? Which we have reason to doubt, to say the least.
そうですか。
I could tell even over the phone how disappointed Ooishi-san was. Pulling on the fishing line when he felt a bite, only to reel in the bait. Disappointed, but ready to cast the line once more. That's how it seemed.
大石さん、目に見える証拠がなければ動けないんですか？
What I meant was, you can't come and save me without proof. I stuck that barb in there. As Ooishi-san loved roundabout ways of saying things, he understood me just fine.
大丈夫ですよ、前原さん。あなたは私が守ります。
I don't like when Ooishi says stuff like that. Like when he said that line about how he's the only, like, oh, who was it? Was it that Keiichi thought it or something? No, it was Ooishi who said, like, you know, you can always count on me, just something like that. It was after they had that lunch conversation, I'm pretty sure. It makes me really not trust Ooishi. That was not the least bit reassuring. Ooishi-san was just using me to continue his investigation. I was just going to get killed, and my corpse would be an important piece of evidence. That was all I was to him.
大石さんの捜査は俺の生死と無関係でしょうが、俺は死ねば終わりなんです。
Ooishi-san went silent on the other end of the line. It may have been too blunt, but I didn't care. All I needed to relay to Ooishi-san was that I was currently in a very dangerous position.
だから話してください、レナのこと。サトシは転校しました。多分俺もそれほど遠くない将来、レナの言う転校をするでしょう。ですが大石さんには俺の死体を見つけることもできないでしょうね。現にサトシの死体だってまだ見つけられてない。
Well, that makes me wonder, because we know one of them, there's the suicide note by the swamp, right? That was with Rika's mom, I think? No. Yeah, that was with Rika's mom, because that was after her father, the priest, the Shinto priest, died of an illness. And then they found the suicide note of her mother right by the swamp. So I'm just wondering if all of these bodies are in the swamp, right? The swamp, Onikakushi, the entrance to the abyss, to hell.
前原さん、どうか落ち着いて。
I was already suppressing my agitation, even without Ooishi-san having to tell me. Yeah, that's just the worst thing to say to someone who's upset. It wouldn't solve anything if I continued to scream about my mistrust in the police. It would seem that I could only depend on myself and the bats Satoshi left behind to protect myself. I do not like that. Then I at least wanted to know about what happened before Rena transferred schools. He always says this, and I think it will be. Ooishi-san, realizing my resolve couldn't be swayed, finally caved.
今の俺にとってつまらない話は何一つありません。お願いします。
まずいくつかお断りすることがあります。
Okay.
はい。
他言無用でお願いします。また内容には一部憶測も含まれているかもしれません。すべてが真実ではないかもしれないということです。よろしいですね。
真実ではないかもしれない。言ってる意味がよくわかりません。
ひなみ沢の連続開始事件は捜査本部がありません。毎年の事件はここに
You've mentioned that, even though that doesn't make it, even though like that's part of a police cover-up, isn't it? Like they know the cases are connected because we had that tip of the notice that was what was it, treating them all as confidential or whatever, and it grouped them all together. So obviously, like officially they're treating them as individual cases, but that's only because there's a weird police cover-up going on involving it, you know? Like
ですから竜宮レナが捜査線に浮上したことは一度もないのです。つまりですね、
レナの調査は警察としてでなく個人として行ったということですか？
ご理解いただけて助かります。話のほとんどは電話、もしくは会って聞かせてもらったものばかりですから裏が取れていません。
Okay.
鵜呑みにしないでほしいということなんですよ。ご理解いただけますね。
全部聞いた話だけなんですか？
ええ、申し訳ないです。個人調査ですのでね。
あれ、以前レナのカルテを見たって言いませんでしたか？
That's illegal. That's
確
against
かに
HIPAA.
そう聞きましたよ。
This is Japan. I don't think they have HIPAA there, but I don't know. Are you allowed to show some of the medical chart? I assume that's what they mean by chart. Maybe that's like the, you know. Maybe they don't mean, but when I hear chart, I think like medical chart, you know? That's, you can't just show someone's chart to a cop, come on. Ooishi-san paused for a moment on the other end of the line.
そんなことも言いましたかね。気のせいということにしてください。
I didn't care about Ooishi-san having certain obligations and responsibilities. I also didn't care if there was no proof. Even if they were just rumors, there's no smoke without fire after all.
話してください、大石さん。
わかりました。
It is weird that Ooishi is willing to tell Keiichi all of this stuff. I guess that's not something I've really thought about or mentioned before. About how strange it is that Ooishi-san is fine with telling Keiichi all of these things. A lot of stuff is stuff that he shouldn't be telling like anyone. It seems that Rena lived in Hinamizawa a long time ago, right? She had moved to Ibaraki Prefecture just before starting elementary school. Then, following that, right after transferring, the unfortunate incident with the breaking of the school windows happened. Then Rena confided to the doctor. She was young. It was Oyashiro-sama. This was everything I knew.
私が知る話も前原さんと大きくは変わりません。
No, she couldn't have been that young, because she's only been back in Yamazawa for a year, so... I don't know, that's weird.
では、どこを詳しく調べたんですか？
I didn't need to ask. It was the incident right before she transferred back to
レナ
Hinamizawa.
が起こした事件と、その後の医者での告白ですね。
はい。
大石さんは、その内容を知っているからこそ、レナたちを疑っているんですね。
So that's what... Is this just information I've just forgotten about? I guess.
ええ、疑っています。
I didn't remember that this was like the inciting thing that made Ooishi start suspecting them. How did he learn about Rena doing this in the first place? feel like a failure. I've forgotten something at some point, apparently.
やはりレナたちが犯人。
ああ、いえ、疑うとはそういう意味ではないんです。
Question mark. Ooishi-san was the type of person to say things with confidence, but these particular words were less than reassuring.
じゃあ何を疑ってるんですか？
お社様ですよ。
Oyashiro-sama desu yo.
お社様のたたりって本当にあるのかな。
Mm-hmm.
なんてまあ。
He's being weird. Ooishi, this is serious business, please. Ooishi-san's laugh was quite dry, certainly not like the kind that you would make when you went to join him, blah, blah, blah. Ooishi-san resumed the conversation. What is he talking about? What's he doing? About the dubious circumstances behind Sachishi's disappearance. The course of events leading him to delve into Rena's past. Just then, there was thunder in the distance, and a heavy rain started pouring down. It came without warning, a downpour fiercely beating the ground. I had left the window in my room open a crack to let the heat out. The violent wind danced into my room, making the curtains flap
どう
wildly.
しました？
あ、いえ、急にすごい雨が。すみません。どうぞ続けてください。
I got up while still on the phone and grasped the window.
はじめに事件と申し上げましたが、学校側も被害者も告
The
発していないので、
victims?
正式には事件ではないの
I
で。
thought she just broke a bunch of windows.
でですね、この辺りがどう
Okay.
も関係者皆さん口が重いんですよ。被害者の一人は片目に後遺症、学校側か。もしくは
One eye beaten so...
表立てになる
Huh?
望まない何者かが
Huh?
いろいろ
Excuse me.
根回しをしたのかもしれませんね。
Uh-huh. Okay, so
カウンセリングを
she
担当
she attacked
した
people with a bat.
職業倫理に厳格な方
We didn't know that before, right? We just thought she broke the windows.
もしもし前原さん聞こえてます？
Please? There was the figure of a person standing by the light near the mailbox this whole time. Even in this torrential rain, they didn't have an umbrella. She's still out there. They were unquestionably drenched from head to toe. In this shower which more resembled a waterfall, droplets of water dripped down from her hair. Thank God. There's the thumbnail. Awesome. Let me hide the... There we go. There's my screenshot for it. Just standing there, both arms dangling at her side. In one hand was the stack of boxes, wrapped in cloth. Her eyes focused on my room. See the blood on her hand? Dude. Oh, man. What is going on, dude? Oh. Okay. Rena, what's happening, honey? Her eyes focused on my room, focused on me as I was about to close the window. Her mouth was methodically repeating a chewing motion. It was as if she had something hard to chew in her mouth, with her cheeks puffing out. What could she be eating over there? How could it be that at this time, I was more enthralled by Rena, instead of the shocking developments brought to light by Ooishi-san, If it hadn't started raining, I wouldn't have gone to the window. Then I wouldn't have noticed Rena, nor would I have noticed that. Rena's mouth was moving in the same pattern. She wasn't eating something, she was repeating something. What was it? What was she repeating? To me? What was she saying? And why was I, right up against the window,
も
fixated
し
on
も
her?
し前原さん聞こえてますか？もしもーし。
ごめんなさい。
Gomenasai.
前
Still
原さん
saying it. Standing out in the rain, staring at him, saying Gomenasai.
ごめんな
Awesome.
さい。ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
I don't know. I'm gonna have to, you know,
ごめんなさい。
this obviously
ごめんなさい。ごめんなさい。
this obviously ties in to that very first scene, right after the whole Keiichi beating people to death with a bat scene, with him being on the train, someone apologizing and his thoughts on it. But I don't know what's going on here. I don't know what's happening. I'm gonna have to think about it. This one has been way too long. I don't want to go on a long like rant again.
もしもし
I'll talk about it next time though. Whatever my and obviously there's this whole stuff about Rena beating someone's eye out with a bat as
前
well.
原さんどうしましたか？
So like then Rena was part of this whole thing too. Even in this torrential downpour, Rena was still apologizing. The other self inside me, drew the curtain hastily with my right hand, blocking my view of the outside. Here it is again, right? Just what I was talking about earlier, the other self. But even doing that, Rena's relentless apologies still reached my ears. I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. If I forgive you for this, will you forgive me for that? Please stop, please stop, please stop, please stop. I'm sorry, 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 I'm sorry. Damn it. Why should I have to forgive her? I'm the one who wants to be forgiven. What part of me can't you forgive? I won't be killed. If you won't forgive me, then I won't forgive you either. I won't forgive, 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 I won't forgive. How different from that very first scene in the train, right?
前原さん、聞こえてるなら返事をしてください。もしもーし。
That has to be the end of the chapter, right? If you remember, we started this in, like, the middle of the chapter. So, I mean, this would have been, like, a 3-hour-long chapter if I hadn't done that break in the middle. Oh, dude. 2 more tips. I'm not gonna read them this time. I'm gonna read them next time, sorry. This is gonna be a super long one, too, even though it's half a chapter. Dude, I'm gonna lose my mind. Like, I don't know. I don't want to rant for, like, forever again. I feel like I'm... These are so long, I just get, like, I reach, like, a point of mental fatigue. Which makes me feel like I should make them shorter, but I feel bad doing that. I don't know. I get mentally fatigued, and I also, talking the whole time is rough. My mouth starts hurting. My mouth is dry. I don't know. Man. Well, I think I'm gonna have a lot of stuff to say next time. I'm gonna ruminate on this, that's for sure. You know, I'm not... The significance of the information we have just learned is not lost on me. I'm just gonna talk about it next time, and read the tips next time, so... Sorry about that. But I think I had plenty of rambling in this one. I already saved. So, I don't know. If you guys enjoyed, leave a comment, tell me what you think. And I'll see you guys next time.